Greetings, Guardians, my name is Bife here. Eris Morn has of course been at the centre of the story this season, and her crusade has often brought her into conflict with the forces of darkness. Sometimes, however, she has been known to take objects infused with the darkness's own power and use them against her foes. Such was the case for her eyes, stolen from an acolyte, and her clutched bone of Ahamkara, which now acts as a focus for the powers of stasis that she learned from the Black Fleet's pyramid on Luna. But I think it's fair to say that there's never been a more intriguing object that she's stolen power from than the one that she investigated at the start of this season. Today we're going to talk about the dark secrets that Eris Morn learned when she dissected the remains of the Witch Queen, Savathun. Our story really begins here with the obvious plot point. Savathun was killed by us in her throne world and was not immediately resurrected by her ghost Imaru. With our success, a team of hidden agents was dispatched to the throne world to recover the body of the Witch Queen for study. Thus did the remains of one of the three hive gods end up in the custody of the Secret Service of the Tower, in the hands of the agents under Ikora's command, and at the disposal of Eris Morn. She had been the instigator for the events that preceded both the deaths of Crota and Oryx, and now she was there to investigate what was left of another powerful hive god. This moment is displayed to us in the Eidolon Pursuant helmet. Its lore tab reads as follows. Savathun is rigid and lifeless beneath the edge of Eris's scalpel as it begins a Y incision. With each careful removal of a chitin plate, she expects the Witch Queen's muscles to shudder, her eyes to roll open, her claws to cleave Eris in twain as retaliation. Rigid. Lifeless. Nothing to fear. Below the skull, protected by the plated scale and frayed hive enchantment, Eris sees the symbol of the Witch Queen. She peels back muscle and shaves away surrounding tissue for a clearer view of the faded mark etched into Savathun's encephalon organ, with Soulfire script. Only then does she see the embellishments adorning the mark. They bring to mind the runic symbols carved into the crown of sorrow. She catalogues the embellishments on a datapad, noting the similarities before continuing her examination, confident in her initial findings regarding a link to the crown. A link to the crown? A lock many have tried to pick. Now Eris holds the key, from the mind of Savathun herself. For those of you who weren't around to play it, we originally encountered the Crown of Sorrow within the Forsaken expansion in the Season of Opulence. During this season we saw the Crown of Sorrow's raid, which had us facing up against Galran. Galran was a massive, genetically engineered Cabal warrior that Callus had bred specifically to bear the Crown of Sorrow, giving him enhanced layers of mental protection. He did this because he believed that the crown could be used to command the hive broods under Callus's control instead of any other hive god. He was sorely mistaken, and despite Galran's increased mental security, he was infected with witchcraft and Savathun was able to take a hold over him. When this was done, the hive within the Leviathan that had been collected by Callus in his menagerie started to go berserk and were organized under the control of Galran. If you killed Galran in the raid, he could actually stop and then fall, and in the process the crown would physically drop in front of you. When you did this, you could actually step inside the crown, at which point you can see the very symbols that Eris was talking about in this lore entry, and you can also see their vivid similarity to the sigils of Savathun. This all matters because of how the crown was used aboard the Glycan. It essentially acts as a conduit for those that control the powers of darkness. Eris recognized this possibility, and so decided to do as she has done before, and add another aspect to her power. Eris chalks the floor in the helm wing previously inhabited by the servitor of the Elixni Splicers. A liberated tomb ship drones beside her. Through the open, shielded hangar, the Leviathan is visible as a malformed knot, its shape bulging from the shadowed outline of the moon. Ikora descends the stairs. An ornately dressed warlock Thanatanaut follows, their robes trimmed in bone and elaborately stitched symbols. "Did you commandeer this from Mars?" Ikora asks with a smile, looking over the hive vessel. Eris stands. It provided ample shielding for transporting the crown from its vault. "It's here? Now?" the Thanatanaut asks, breaking his stride at the bottom of the stairs. "Worry not. The helm will disembark from the city to ensure the crown is contained," Eris answers. "Keep that tomb ship docked here in case we need to jettison the crown. Last thing I need is a rookie shooting you down in it." Ikora steps past the Thanatanaut with a reassuring nod. "Tell us what you're thinking next, Eris." Eris gestures toward the open bay door. "The Leviathan is at our doorstep. Even if we unravel Callus's plan, the ship itself still poses a threat simply by its size. Callus does not require paracausal power to cause an extinction-level event." Callus's interest appears to be focused solely on the pyramid, Ikora interjects. "Should that change, Zavala assures me that Keitel's fleet will provide ample dissuasive firepower." Eris nods in rhythm with Ikora's well-reasoned words. "I trust that to be true. However, whatever connection Callus has established is drawing nightmares and phantoms alike to the Leviathan. He is able to exert influence over them. But I believe we can disrupt this connection." She points to the Thanatanaut. "You," she says, and motions toward 3 chalked spots on the floor. "Here, here, and here. We will require death anchors to tether the ritual. Hold your mind on the brink for as long as you can, and I will craft the sigils required to contain the crown. Then, we will need volunteers." You get no prizes for guessing it, but we ended up being those volunteers, I think. Eris would conduct the ritual with us, Crow, and Zavala and the Nightmare Harvester in order to grant us a degree of power against the darkness and a degree of warding within the Leviathan. With the power of the Crown of Sorrows at our disposal, we would now be able to bind within its chitinous housing all the nightmares that we found and faced aboard the pyramid, be they lesser or greater. This would allow us to sever Callus's connection to the pyramid. This would be Eris Morn's newfound power, and she would elaborate more upon it at the beginning of the season. Take a listen to this.
"It is done. We are inexorably bound to the power of this hive artifact, and to one another. The Crown of Sorrow was once forged by Savathun's hand, designed as a psychic prison, binding the mind of its bearer to her will. Now it serves a new witch. You have become a reaper of darkness, dooming slain nightmares to imprisonment within the crown. Callus has begun to forge a bond between the Leviathan and the dormant pyramid buried on the moon. I do not yet know why or how, but with enough imprisoned nightmares, I can use their essence to invoke a ritual to sever those connections Callus is forging. For now, return to the Leviathan and seek out concentrations of these new nightmares. Destroy them and bind them to the crown. As I warned Zavala, nightmares wear familiar faces and speak with familiar voices. They manifest our darkest fears. You will assist Crow when it comes time to perform the first severance ritual. We both know what form his nightmare will take. It will do everything in its power to stop you. Be wary.
With all this new power and a dangerous artifact now under her command, I dare say that it is worth asking an unwelcome question. Can we trust that Eris has anticipated all the risks of the Crown of Sorrow correctly? It would be devastating to see the Witness use it as a conduit, as we know it is possible to do so thanks to the events on the Glycon. With the Crown of Sorrow now being intimately connected to us, Eris, the Crow, Zavala, and Keitel, we have to ask a certain question about whether this is a step too far. It is a little bit late to ask the question. Something dark now looms on the horizon, and we have been linked to it for a long time. But I think the last question we should ask, and one that I hesitate to ask because she has persistently and always proved such inclinations incorrect in the past, is whether we can trust Eris. In the Dark Future lorebook, she does turn against us when imbued with a great degree of power from the darkness, and in particular from the Hive. And what's more, I think it's always worth remembering that she has begun the stories and conversation this season stating that the crown now serves a new witch. Eris has always had this sort of attitude with her, and who's to say this witch is not on our side? But it is something I believe we should be cautious of, not because Eris would willingly betray us, but because of the fact that her power now reaches new heights and potentially new dangers, not just to us, but also to her. Darkness is a power that corrupts and overwhelms, and the Crown of Sorrow is a dark artifact indeed. But that's all from me for now. Thank you very much, and if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. Let me know down below in the comments section, do you think that Eris Morn is potentially capable of being corrupted by the Crown of Sorrow? Do you think she's at risk? I hesitate to even ask the question at first because, honestly, I don't think so. But then again, it is a question worth asking, not only because of the Dark Future lorebook, but because this is a new height for Eris's power. So let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Of course, if you want more Destiny content, you can hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. But as per usual, know that your viewership is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Por Audacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.